Hare Krishna. Can you hear my voice? Am I audible? Okay, let's start. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutare Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So thank you all very much for joining today's session. We have been discussing from the 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. The chapter is titled as Nature, Enjoyer and Consciousness or Prakriti Purusha Vibhaga Yoga. I'll do a quick recap of what we have seen in this chapter. This chapter started with Arjuna's questions. Prakritim Purusham Chaiva Kshetram Kshetragyam Evacha Yetad Veditum Ichchami Jnanam Geyam Cha Keshava. My dear Keshava, please describe to me the meaning of these six terms. Prakriti, Purusha, Kshetra, Kshetragya, Jnanam and Geya. Krishna starts answering right away. Idam Shariram Kaunteya Kshetramityabhidiyate Etadyo Vetti Tam Prahu Kshetragya iti Tam Vidaha Tadvidaha. Understand, O Arjuna, that this body is called the Kshetra and the soul who is the knower of this body is known as the Kshetragya. Kshetragyam chapi mam viddi sarva kshetreshu bharata kshetra kshetragyayor jnanam yattad jnanam matam mama. You should understand that I also in the form of the super soul is the kshetragya, but I am the kshetragya of all bodies, and the knowledge of the kshetragya and of the kshetra and the two kshetragyas, that is called as jnana. Tat kshetram yachayadrikcha yadvikari yachastayat Sachayo yat prabhavascha tat samasena me shranu. O Arjuna, I will briefly tell you all about this field, what it is made of, what are its transformations, who is the knower, what are the powers of this knower, all of that I will tell you. But if you want detailed knowledge of this, Rishibir Bahuda Geetam Chandobir Vividai Pratak Brahma Sutra Padaishcheva Hitumadbir Vinishchitaihi. If you want more detailed information, you can read the Vedas in which the Rishis have mentioned about this in detail, or you can read the logical presentation of the Vedanta Sutras in which this is described in much more detail. Anyways, coming back to knowledge of the Kshetra, Mahabhutanya Hankaro Buddhir Avyaktamevacha Indriyani Dashaikamcha Panchascha Indriya Gochara Icha Dvesha Sukam Dukkam Sangatas Chetana Dhritihi Etat Kshetram Samasena Savikaram Udahritam. The field consists of the five gross elements, false ego, Mahattattva, Prakriti, the 10 senses, mind, 25 sense objects, the 5 sense objects, then desire, hatred, happiness, distress. All of this is body along with its transformations. This is not the Kshetragya. This all belongs to the body. So this is about Kshetra and Kshetragya. So now coming back to knowledge, then he talks about what are the qualities that are favorable for developing this knowledge. Amanitvam, Adambitvam, Ahimsa, Kshantirarjavam, Acharyopasanam, Shaucham, Stairyam, Atma Vinigraha, Indriyarteshu Vairagyam, Anahankaram Janma Mrityujara Vyadi, Dukkha Doshanu Darshanam, Asaktir, Anabhiswanga, Putradara Grahadishu, Nityam cha Samachittatvam, Ishta Anishtopapattishu, Mayi cha Ananya Yogena Bhaktir Abhyabicharini, Vivikta Desha Sevitvam, Aratir Janasamsadi, Adhyatma Jnana Nityatvam, Tattva Jnanartha Darshanam, Etad Jnanam iti Proktam, Ajnanam Yadatonyata. He talks about the 20 elements of knowledge. Of the 20, 18 are common to the devotees and the jnanis. The last 2 are exclusively there for the jnanis, not for the devotees. Adhyatma Jnana Nityatvam Tattva Jnanartha Darshanam, which means that always keeping in mind the goal of liberation. The devotees are Anyabhilashita Shunyam, they have no other than the desire to please Krishna, including the goal of liberation. And Tattva Jnana Artha Darshanam. And this is Tattva Jnana Artha Darshanam, and Adhyatma Jnana Nityatma means constant engagement in the knowledge of the self. Well, but the devotees are constantly engaged in devotional service. So these 2 are So the last two talk about the Abhideya and Prayojana of the Jnani. So that only a Jnani is engaged. His goal is liberation and he is engaged constantly in the cultivation of knowledge. Whereas the goal of the devotee is pleasure of Krishna and is constantly engaged in devotional service. But even of the 18 items that are applicable to the devotees, only one item he is exclusively engaged. Maicha Ananya Yogena Bhaktir Avyabhicharini. He is engaged in unalloyed devotional service to Krishna. With the diligent engagement in this one item, all the other 17 items automatically follow that person. So that is what we saw. So this is about the various elements of knowledge. And then he talks about jnana and gyeya, knowledge and the object of knowledge. Kshetra Kshetragya is over. Sorry, Kshetragya is over. Jnana is over. Now gyeya is being described, the object of knowledge. Gyeyam yattat pravakshami yadgyatva amritamashnute anadi matparam brahma nasattan nasaduchyate. So he says, now I will speak about the object of knowledge, knowing which one will attain liberation. The Supreme Brahman or Paramatma, who takes shelter of me, Krishna, is Gyeya and he is beyond cause and effect. Then further talking about the Paramatma, he says, Sarvataha pani padam tat sarvatokshi shiromukam sarvatra shtrimalloke sarvam avritya tishtati. So everywhere are his hands, feet, and everywhere the Paramatma has its eyes, heads, etc. Because practically every body that you see possessing hands, feet, etc., it's all a manifestation of the energy of Paramatma. So in that way, they all can be told as Paramatma. Sarvendriya gunabhasam, sarvendriya vivarjitam, asaktam sarvabhritchaiva, nirgunam gunabhoktracha. He is the abode of all kinds of apparently contradictory qualities. So he says that Sarvendriya Gunabhasam, the Brahman illuminates all the senses and sense objects, even though Sarvendriya Vivarjitam is without any material senses himself. Asaktam Sarvabhritchaiva, even though he is the maintainer of everything, but still he is detached from everything. Nirgunam Gunabhoktracha, even though he is nirguna, without any material gunas, but he is definitely the enjoyer of the spiritual gunas. Like that he says. Then, Bahirantascha bhutanam acharam charamevacha sukshmatvat tadavijneyam durastam cha antike chatat. He is outside of everything and inside of everything. Inside he is the Paramatma. Outside whatever seen is the energy of Paramatma. In this way he is pervading outside and inside. Acharam charamevacha. He alone is the moving and non-moving beings because everything is his energy. Avijneyam. He is very difficult to understand. Sukshmatvat. Because of his very subtle nature. Durastam cha antike chatat. He is very far away for the non-devotees, yet he is very close. This is for the devotees residing right within their heart. From Bhakti Yoga Paribhavita Hrit Saroja Asya Shrutekshita Pato Nananata Pumsam, as Brahmaji says. So, Havibhaktam cha bhuteshu vibhaktam ivacha stitam bhuta bhartru cha tagnyeyam grasishnu prabhavishnu cha. Even though he is the one Lord, he is present as if he is many. He is present as if he is many because he is situated in the bodies of all the living entities. He is to be known as the creator, maintainer, and the destroyer of everything. Jyotisham api tajyotis tamasah paramuchyate jnanam gyeyam jnanagamyam priti sarvasya vishtitam. So he is the light of all the luminaries and he is said to be beyond all darkness. He is knowledge. He is what is to be known, and he is obtained by the process of knowledge. Jnanam, Gyayam, Jnanagamyam, Priti Sarvasya Vishtitam, and he is situated in the heart of all living entities. Iti kshetram tata jnanam gyayam choktam samasatah madbhaktaye tadvignaya madbhavaya upapadyate. Arjuna, in this way, in response to your question, I have at least till now spoken about Kshetram, Kshetragya, Jnanam, Gyayam, everything I have spoken about briefly. My devotee who understands this attains prema, is one understanding. Or Mad Bhakta Etad Vijnaya means the Jnana Yogi who is endowed with the element of bhakti, when he understands these subject matters, he attains Madbhava, means he attains the Brahmajyoti, like that. Then Krishna then explains the last two topics which he had promised to speak on, Purusha, Prakriti and their union. Okay. Prakritim Purusham Chaiva Vidhi Anadi Ubhavapi. Vikaramscha Gunamschaiva Vidhi Prakriti Sambhavan. He says, my dear Arjuna, know that the Prakriti and the Jiva are Anadi. They are without any origin. And know that the Gunas and its transformations, they all arise from Prakriti. Okay. So in this context, we were discussing last time, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writes that the Jiva is eternal, Prakriti is eternal, and their union has also been eternal. So in this context, last week, Shamlal Prabhu asked a question, how can you say it is eternal when we were there, in the spiritual world, we did not have any contact with Prakriti. So how can you say that the contact with Prakriti and Purusha is eternal? Somehow, I did not anticipate this question, but somehow the question was asked. I started answering in a particular way, but then at some point, the discussion, I felt, okay, something more foundational needed to be discussed. So we started discussing on this very, very important theme of Vaishnava hermeneutics. Of course, there are many aspects of Vaishnava hermeneutics. We started addressing one very critical aspect of Vaishnava hermeneutics. How do you reconcile when one single Acharya in his different writings seems to speak two different things which seem completely contradictory? Okay. So this is one situation, which is the Jiva fall down issue, where Prabhupada said we came from there. And also Prabhupada also seemingly says that we were, no one falls down from Brahmajyoti. Two exactly opposite things Srila Prabhupada says. Elsewhere also, if you see, Prabhupada says, 50% of my job is not done, talking about Varnashrama. And elsewhere also he says, no, we don't have to practice Varnashrama. Varnashrama is not for us. I came to United States and established the holy name and the system, and the mission has progressed. There was no Varnashrama. How did I spread it? So this is all not needed. Like that. Two exactly seemingly opposite things. Like that, there are quite a few things which Srila Prabhupada has spoken, which seem to be contradictory. Prabhupada seemed to be contradicting himself. So, how do you reconcile in a Vaishnava way these kind of statements where the Acharyas themselves seem to present things which are seemingly contradictory to their own statements? So, this is the topic I think probably we spent the rest of our discussion in this discussion only. So, anyways, but I hope it was a relevant discussion last time. But this is what the whole discussion started with this particular verse. Prakritim Purusham Chaiva Vidhi Anadi Ubhavapi. Vikaramscha Gunamschaiva Vidhi Prakriti Sambhavan. Know that both Prakriti and the Jiva are without origin, and know that the gunas and its transformations, all of them arise from Prakriti. Okay. So here very clearly it is mentioned. But speaking of the Jiva, who is also the knower of the field, how does the Jiva come in contact with Maya and when did it start? Okay. In answer to this, which is mentioned, know that Maya and the Jiva are both without an origin, having no first cause. That is because they are Shaktis of me and the Lord who is also without origin. From this, it is understood that because matter and Jiva are both without origin, their connection is also without origin. This is where everything ticked off. And then we had this discussion. Okay. And he says that Vikaramscha Gunamschaiva Vidhi Prakriti Sambhavan. Understand that the gunas and its transformation, they all arise from Prakriti. And in this union between Prakriti and the Jiva, there is contribution by both parties. Karyakarana Kartrutve Hetu Prakriti Ruchyate. Purusha Sukha Dukkha Nam Bhoktrutve Hetu Ruchyate. In this union, Prakriti is said to be the cause because it supplies the body, the senses, the sense devatas, all of that which the jiva can identify with as the self. That is all provided by Prakriti. And the jiva provides a conscious entity who can experience emotions, the happiness and distress, which only a conscious living entity can experience happiness and distress. Okay. So that is provided by the jiva. But for the jiva to wrongly identify with and experience emotion with such a wrong identification, all of that is provided by the Prakriti in the form of the gross body and the subtle body. This is what we discussed. And this is where, actually, last week, this is where we ended. Last week, we did not take off. The whole 2 hours got spent in discussing this Q&A about Vaishnava hermeneutics. Today, we are again pausing to see if there is any unanswered questions, discussion points, comments, anything anyone would like to share, ask, add before we start today's discussion. Okay. Mohit Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam Prabhuji.
Dandavat Prabhu.
Prabhuji, in 13.14, it is written, the doubt may arise that if the Brahman is without cause and effect, then that contradicts the statement of Shruti, such as everything is Brahman. In 13.14, Prabhuji.
13.14. Okay, yeah.
Yes, Prabhuji, can you explain this slide, Prabhuji? Because I am confused in this whole slide, Prabhuji, in this slide.
Okay. So, this is with respect to this verse, Sarvataha Panipadam Tat Sarvatokshi Shiromukam Sarvataha Shrutimalloke Sarvam Avritya Tishtati. Everywhere this Paramatma has its hands and feet, everywhere Paramatma has its eyes, heads and mouths, everywhere are its ears. It covers everything in the universe. So in context to this, he quotes this Purva Paksha argument. The doubt may arise that if this Brahman is without cause and effect, then that contradicts the statements of the Shrutis such as Sarvam Kalu Idam Brahma and Brahmai Vedam Sarvam. Everything is Brahman. Even though Brahman in its essential nature is beyond cause and effect, this Brahman Paramatma is also the cause and effect because of the non-difference between the energy and the source of this energy that is stated in this verse. Okay. So now the Shastras say that the Brahman is Nirvikar, without any transformation. So without any transformation means if clay is there, if clay has to become a pot, the clay itself has to transform to become a pot. So if everything is Brahman, Sarvam Kaluvidam Brahma, if everything is Brahman, and if that Brahman is without any qualities, then how can that Brahman transform into something which has qualities? So this question arises. So the Mayavadis say that, this material world is illusion. Brahma Satya Jagan Mithya. Material world is illusion. Why? Because if the material world is real, then the material world must have been a transformation of Brahman. If the material world is a transformation of Brahman, then the Shastras very clearly say that Brahman is Nirvikara. He does not undergo any transformation. That would be wrong. So he says, yes, Brahman is without any transformation, but Brahman itself does not have to transform to manifest this material world. The energy of Brahman, the Achintya Shakti of Brahman can transform to manifest this material world. This is called as Shakti Parinamavad. The Brahman's inconceivable energy transforms without affecting that Brahman at all. So therefore, yes, on one hand, the Lord is without any cause and effect because he does not personally transform into anything. He does not have any cause because he is the source of everything. But at the same time, he is not, he is not directly the effect of anything in this material world because any transformation in this material world is a manifestation of his inconceivable energy only. So in one hand, he is without any cause and effect. In another hand, all cause and effects they belong to him only. So, and that is possible through the agency of his inconceivable energy, like that.
Okay, and Prabhuji, in 13.15, Prabhuji, the energy of the Lord is divided into Jnana, Bala, and Kriya Shakti. What is the meaning of Prabhuji Jnana, Bala, and Kriya Shakti?
Jnana Shakti means the power of okay. Of course, Jnana, Kriya, and Bala Shakti refers to the knowledge. Kriya means the senses which are needed for performing the action, and Bala refers to the gross elements, which are through which the material bodies and everything is made. In other words, we say the manifestations of the Satvik Ahankar, Rajasik Ahankar, and Tamasic Ahankar, which is all called as Dravya Shakti, Kriya Shakti, and so sorry, this is Jnana, Kriya, and Bala, right? Okay, this is Parasya Shakti Vividaiva Shruyate. The energy of the Lord is divided into Jnana, Bala, and Kriya. Okay. Oh, sorry, this is talking about the spiritual energy of the Lord. This is which verse? Sarvendriya gunabhasam, sarvendriya vivarjitam, asaktam sarvabhritchaiva, nirgunam gunabhoktracha. Okay, this is not talking about that jnana balakriya. This is in context with this uh, Sarvendra, Nirgunam Gunabhoktracha. He is the enjoyer of the spiritual energy. The spiritual energies are divided into three categories, which is Jnana, Bala, and Kriya. So this meaning is valid because it is well known in the Shrutis that he is the abode of Swarupa Shakti. So his Swarupa Shakti is divided into three, which is Jnana, Bala, and Kriya. I guess this must refer to, the probably the Samvit, Sandhini, and Hladini potency in this context.
Okay. And Prabhuji, what is the meaning of Sans Devta, Prabhuji? Sans Devtas, 13.21, Sans Devtas.
Sense devatas means every sense for the functioning of any particular sense of eyes, vision, the sense of smell, everything. You need a gross organ, you need a subtle organ, the stulendriya, the sukshmendriya, and then you need a sense devata who is the controller of that particular sense. Like for example, for vision, it is Surya Dev. For the sense of taste, it is Varuna. For the sense of smell, it is the Ashwini Kumaras. For the sense of hearing, they are the Dig Devatas. Like that, each sense is controlled by a particular sense Devata. So, according to our karma, if we have good ability, good karma um, to experience good sensory perception in the form of vision, sound, the ability to smell, etc. The sense devatas appropriately empower that living entity to experience that sense perception like that by empowering the gross body and subtle body like that.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Yes, Shiva Kumar Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Then I was
Dandavat.
Prabhu, last week I brought up that question, Prabhu, in reference to 1321.
Okay.
I think 2 weeks back we kind of had an elaborate discussion on the emotions, Prabhu. So in continuation to that, I just kind of came across these two verses, Prabhu, that I kind of wanted to hear your insights.
Yeah.
In terms of how do we process the emotions, both for self and when we look at others. 211 and 632, Prabhu. So you said we'll just read it.
2.11. 2.11 is what? Natvevaham Jatunasham. No, that is 2.12.
The one before that, Prabhu.
What is the one?
Kadasu Nagadasu Nanushochandi Pandita.
Oh, okay. Ashochan Anvashochastvam Pragyavadamscha Bhashase Gatasun Agatasunscha Nanushochanti Panditaha. So, how do you process emotions? Good. So, here we have to understand who is a Pandita. Pandita means a realized person. We, of course, have to act according to our sense of realization. So, what does a Pandita do? He does not lament for Gata Asuhu. Gata Asuhu means Asuhu is life air. Gata Asuhu means that from which the life air has already left, which is the gross body. At the time of death, there is loss of gross body because Gata Asuhu, the life air leaves the gross body. Okay. So he does not lament for that because he understands that that actually the gross body is dying even before death. the gross body is dying even before death. Because what is that? Dehinosmin yata dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara tata dehantara praptihi dhirastatran muyyati. Okay. Because even while living within this body, the body changes from kaumara to yauvana to jara. So the gross body, the kaumara body is dead. The yauvana body comes up. Then the yauvana body is dead. Then the jara body comes up. Then subsequently, the jara body is dead. Then there will be the next balya body. And then that will become next yauvana body. Then that will become next jara body. So even before the so-called death, the same body is changing. So a Pandita does not lament for the loss of gross body because he knows the gross body always dies. That is a nature. And he does not lament for agata asuhu. He does not lament for that from which the life air does not leave, which is the subtle body. He does not lament for the loss of the subtle body because he understands the subtle body is destroyed means it happens only at the time of liberation. So he does not lament for the destruction of the subtle body because destruction of subtle body means liberation, and liberation means one's goal is achieved. And cha means, and also he does not lament for the destruction of the soul because the soul cannot be destroyed. Nainam chindanti shastrani, nainam dahati pavakah, na chainam kledayantyapo na shosheti marutah. The soul cannot be destroyed by any weapons. The soul is eternal. So a Pandita does not lament for the loss of the gross body or for the loss of subtle body or for the soul which cannot be lost or destroyed. Now, this is for a Pandita who is a self-realized soul. Right? But that does not mean a devotee is callous. A devotee laments for the lost opportunity to connect a jiva to Krishna. Okay. So that lamentation is real. And sometimes when we actually lose our near and dear ones who may be connected to us on a bodily platform, it is but natural to lament. Okay. Like you were sharing about some of your relative who passed away, and you are lamenting that somehow you could not connect him to Krishna.
Yes.
It is natural. It is natural, and this type of lamentation should be there for Vaishnavas because Ishware prema tadadineshu maitri balisheshu kripa dvishatsu upeksha. So this mode is very natural for the Madhyamadhikaris, that he naturally feels compassionate towards innocent souls who don't have any Krishna consciousness. He wants to connect them to Krishna. This mode is natural. And also, even while we are sadhaka devotees, we may have attachment to our family members purely on a bodily platform. And sometimes their loss, either physical or emotional or circumstantial, can be painful. That is also natural. So, because while we have received the seed of true ego and we are getting stabilized in the true ego, the inertia of false ego, past false ego, does not give up on us immediately. So it is very natural. Uh, so under such circumstances, when we are going through these kind of tribulations, which are caused due to our inertia of past false ego, when that is not letting go, when we are suffering due to that, one should try to catch hold of those people who are more firmly situated on the platform of true ego. Okay. So that way they will not allow that inertia of past false ego to completely sweep us. They will lend us a helping hand where we can catch hold of their hand and stabilize ourselves as much as possible while that inertia is pushing us in a particular direction. So yes, we don't, and when we see another person, another devotee being swept by the inertia of his past false ego, then we try to lend our hands, because when extreme emotions come up, then it becomes difficult to properly catch hold of our true ego. So at that time, those who are little bit more emotionally and spiritually stable, if they lend their hands, then it becomes helpful. So one should, that's why, invest in deep, meaningful relationships with that kind of personalities, so that especially in difficult situations, we have someone to fall back upon and be stable. Because one of the injunctions of Srila Rupa Goswami, one of the first 20 limbs, which are non-negotiable limbs, is that the sadhaka should not actually get into extreme emotions. He should somehow do whatever is needful so that emotions do not quickly escalate into extreme proportions, because extreme material emotions can take our consciousness away from Krishna. So before they get into extreme proportions, one should take shelter of devotees who can help stabilize our emotions and keep it in and help us focus on Krishna. So like that.
Okay. So Prabhu, just one follow-up question, Prabhu, to this discussion, even the 2 weeks back, considering that discussion, Prabhu.
Yeah.
Now, I think the essence that you brought out when we kind of concluded that session was the emotion is at the intersection of the spirit and the material body. It's neither, it neither belongs to purely spiritual, it's nor purely material. But Gyani would 100% reject saying it is all material, right, Prabhu? That's their way of looking at it, is right? Any emotion in this world?
Yeah, at least he understands the role of material body in the experience of these material emotions. So therefore, because he understands that the material emotion is binding, he tries to reject the material body, gross and subtle, so that he is not bound by the material emotions which are produced due to the interaction of the material body and the soul. So when he lets go of this material body, gross and subtle, then he is not bound to this material world. He attains impersonal liberation.
Okay. So, Prabhu, just one confirmation, Prabhu. Even while living, are they not, by their philosophy, they try to kind of, at least Mayavadis, I would say, from some of the books that I've read, Prabhu, even while living, they seem to be rejecting the emotions as fully material, although they are in the body.
Yeah, but such people, even though they are rejecting, it is, you know, uh, in they won't be able to completely give up their material emotions, how much ever they may consciously try during the day.
Hmm.
And let's say if they are successful,
Hmm.
at night in their dreams,
Hmm.
they will experience those emotions
Hmm.
when they are no longer under control,
Hmm.
because they don't have a proper means
Hmm.
of properly overcoming those emotions.
Hmm.
While awake, they consciously try to avoid,
Hmm.
but at night, when they don't have control over that, they do
Hmm.
experience those emotions
Hmm.
at night during their sleep. That's what Brahmaji in his
Hmm.
prayers in the third canto, ninth chapter,
Hmm.
he says, Akshnya Pritartha Karana Nishi Nishayana Swapnepi Manorata Nana Manorata Diyo Kshanabhagna Nidra Daivaha Tartha Rachana Yatayopi, something like that. You know, in
Hmm.
that particular verse, he mentions the same thing,
Hmm.
that these Mayavadis, they reject bhakti, they reject these emotions, material enjoyment, all that.
Hmm.
But because um, they have rejected the lotus feet of Krishna,
Hmm.
uh, at night, when they don't have control, uh, they do experience those emotions at night helplessly,
Hmm. Hmm.
whatever they are trying to reject,
Hmm. Okay.
like that.
Okay. Okay. So that's where, Prabhu, just one follow-up question, Prabhu. So you just mentioned that we see the emotions in connection to Krishna, the devotees from a bhakti tradition, and you also kind of ended the discussion, Prabhu, with one line saying that any emotion that triggers inside, it depends on how we are invested emotionally with someone else, actually. So some utility, something, the word utility you use, Prabhu. It depends on the emotion that triggers inside, depends on the utility of how you are invested emotionally with the other person. So
Okay.
I was just thinking, Prabhu, even for a devotee, if
Mhm.
another person, say two other persons that I know of are suffering, one person
Mhm.
is non-devotee who has not taken up bhakti but materially suffering.
Mm.
But I am heavily emotionally invested because I know him very well. He is close to me, either my classmate or
Mm.
co-worker or even my relative. I know a
Mm.
devotee at a temple or a devotee circle who I just know by name. I don't have any relation to him. I am not emotionally invested with him. And
Correct.
he is in his sadhana. I come to know that he is heavily suffering for some reason or whatever Krishna and whatever. He's going through some miseries.
Mm.
Now, Prabhu, because I am emotionally invested with a non-devotee, that affects me much, much more than a devotee who is in connection with Krishna who is suffering, but that does not bother me.
Mm.
So, from all your discussions, Prabhu, it just should I understand it as it's just my maturity that I am still not in an higher stage, advanced stage of relating myself completely with Krishna, that I see the difference still at the bodily level in proportion to my relationship with others.
Yeah,
Is that?
quite possible. Quite possible. And it is natural also.
Mm, mm,
It is natural also. Uh, the more we become devotionally mature, the more, not that our connections, material connections will vanish immediately,
mm,
but we will try to uh, you know give it a transcendental touch.
mm, mm,
You know,
mm,
we will try to uh, you know see, yes, how I can utilize this affection that they have for me
mm,
to their benefit by helping them assimilate some sukriti.
mm.
So it is natural because there is a lot of emotions that have been invested. It will not just vanish away like that. But at the same time, when we are maturing spiritually, we will naturally feel more attached to devotees as a class. Even though on a personal level, we may be closer to few devotees, not so close to other devotees. But in general, to devotees as a class, because our value system is becoming more and more deep rooted, we start valuing the devotees as a class. Just like when we develop great attraction to India as a country, then that Indians as a class, we develop some attraction to, attachment to. And when 11 players who are completely unknown to us, they don't know you personally, you don't know them personally, but when they are in the cricket ground playing with 11 other people whom also you don't know personally, you are so absorbed and supporting and praying and shouting that these people win. Okay, because as a class, you are very much attracted to whoever is representing your country called India. So in the same way, when we develop, our attraction to devotees, because we develop that value system, then naturally when devotees suffer as a class, even though we may not have a personal relationship with that particular devotee, but in general, devotees as a class, when they suffer, we would naturally feel some sort of bad feeling, or we would naturally feel that it is natural. But at the same time, if we don't have that personal connect with them, that feeling would not be very deep. So that is why we have to understand in our the dynamics, the emotional dynamics of a sadhaka is very sophisticated, complex. The emotional dynamics are very complex actually for a sadhaka. Because there is this, because he's in a transitioning mode. Okay. His value system has transitioned, but his swabhava has hardly undergone any transition. It is like, it is like a person who wants to run ahead, but he has a 200-kilogram stone connected to his hip, and he is running and running, but he is not moving ahead because, the 200 kilograms is like just pulling him behind. Okay, but he genuinely wants to move ahead. So this is very complex dynamics. This is a very complex dynamics. You want to act in a way, but you're acting in a different way. That is why I was sharing a few weeks back. I don't know which session it was. Oftentimes, one devotee was working on her PhD on, how to understand the influence of modes, how the practice of devotional service affects the influence of modes, like that. And the means of evaluation is actually is actually taking interviews, standard questionnaires. I said this can be highly misleading. You have to be very careful in designing these questionnaires
Mm.
with ample, kind of provisions for cross-checking the answers.
Mm.
Because unconsciously, what happens?
Mm.
Whoever carries a very, those people who don't have any understanding of the modes, theoretical understanding of the modes,
Mm.
and a theoretical appreciation of what is a superior mode, what is an inferior mode, and all that.
Mm.
Uh, when they give the interview,
Mm.
they will be very honest.
Mm.
They are presenting who they are.
Mm.
But what happens when devotees who have a very strong value system, when they speak, oftentimes it is very much unconsciously they keep shuttling back and forth between who they are and who they really wish to be,
Mm.
because that value system sets that gold standard.
Mm. Mm.
And oftentimes very unconsciously they imagine themselves to be
Mm.
that standard which they are aspiring after, and at other times they imagine themselves to be who they are.
Mm.
And at some times, due to humility, they may even think themselves to be worse than who they are.
Mm.
So this kind of complex dynamics keeps them shuttling back and forth.
Mm.
And you take an interview of them,
Mm.
and then are you ask them, how have you improved? Sometimes out of humility, they may say, no, I'm struggling so much with all this lust, anger, etc., etc.
Mm.
Even though there might have been significant improvement.
Mm.
Okay.
Mm.
And at other times, they may, they may answer uh, thinking themselves actually to be, they might be answering as the personality whom they are aspiring for. But so, which may be, so, and at other times, they may actually be responding to who they are actually. And sometimes, um, uh, you know, so this is unconscious. Sometimes even it is conscious, because they feel ashamed, because they have a very strong value system, which very clearly says this is so nice, this is so bad. So therefore, what if I say that, oh, I am struggling with all these things, what they will think? Because of that shame, because the any value system brings a kind of reward and shame, so therefore these kind of questionnaires, unless you are like very intelligently trying to this thing, how would you evaluate this questionnaire when you're using it on a devotee? I always often have this doubt, because if someone would ask me a questionnaire, I cannot straight answer. All these thoughts will be going on in my mind, what they will think. If I say that, shame will be there. And at other times, that some kind of humility, thinking that I am just a materialistic person. See, I am so dirty, I am so struggling, I'm so lusty, I am so angry, you know. So they may say, oh, this person, by practice of Krishna consciousness for 10 years, has triggered in him enormous amounts of rajogun and tamogun. One may come to such a conclusion. I won't be surprised if, based on that questionnaire, if someone comes to such a conclusion. So the point is, these emotions are emotions of a sadhaka are very, very complex. You have to be very conscious to identify what is stimulating what emotions. Sometimes it is the inertia of the false ego, sometimes it is the true ego, sometimes it is inability to, deal with this tug of war between the this false ego, the inertia of false ego and the true ego, like that. So it's a very complex dynamics actually.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much. I think you kind of summarized it, and it's always a gift, Prabhu, to say that whenever I can speak from my experience. When I ask a question, without me expressing the comprehensiveness of the background from where I am asking, you always kind of get into that area, Prabhu, without me explicitly expressing through the words. You kind of enter into that background and then kind of answer it, Prabhu. That always amazes me and kind of inspires me to kind of develop such qualities and maybe help others who are around me in that.
I think probably you ask your question in such a way that it inspires me in that direction.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Mother Gail.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Yeah, I have a question, but I think you kind of indirectly answered it with this, your answer to Shiva Kumar Prabhu. Because when you were just saying that Gyanis, when they don't have any control, when they're sleeping, these emotions come out, right? But so I was thinking, well, that happens for devotees or sadhakas also. But maybe the answer is that because we are transitioning, as you were saying, then that's why that is happening for us too, not just the Gyanis. No?
Yeah.
Okay, and therefore, as we progress, then even in our dreams, right, these emotions will not come.
Yeah. True.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Okay. Is 21 some very special number somehow? we have been stuck up apparently forever in this 13.21. Somehow there is some very strong force, I guess, which is holding all of us, not allowing us to go beyond this 13.21. I don't know what it is. Anyways, let us see. Let us try. Maybe someone again raises their hands and stops. And then, okay, let's see. Oh, I am not able to find my pen. Okay, I got it. Okay. So, let us see if it is Krishna's desire that at least we move on to 13.22, because 13.22 is also a very, very important verse. As one of my friends, who he always quotes this verse. I've seen him speak this verse many times. It's one of his favorite verses. So whenever I read this verse, I remember him. Okay. Let us see what Krishna has to say. So Krishna continues. Purusha prakritisto hi bhungte prakritijan gunan karanam guna sangosya sadasadyoni janmasu. Purusha, the jiva, prakritistaha hi, identifying with prakriti in the form of his body, bhungte gunan, he thinks that he is experiencing happiness and distress. Prakriti jan, which are born from his mind. Again, the discussion. What is the source of emotions, material emotions? Is it the jiva? Is it the, or is it matter? It is actually a connection of matter and jiva, and experienced by jiva, but identifying with that which is provided by matter. Okay. The emotion is generated by the subtle body and experienced by the jiva. Okay. So Purusha, But which Purusha? Prakritistha Purusha. Prakritistha Purusha means the Jiva which is situated in the material body and identifying with that material body. Bhungte Gunan. Things that he is experiencing happiness and distress. Prakriti Jan, which are born from his mind. Karanam Asya Guna Sangaha. This is caused by his association with the body. Sad Asad Yoni Janmasu, which causes his birth in various bodies of Devata and animal. Okay. So the Jiva, identifying with Prakriti in the form of his body, thinks that he is experiencing happiness and distress, which are actually born from his mind. Okay, so this is something which we have been discussing a lot. So what is this material emotion? Okay, is it born? Does it belong to the jiva? Does it belong to matter? What is it? Okay. So he thinks that he is experiencing happiness and distress which are born from his mind. Okay. And this is caused by his association with the body, which causes his birth in various bodies of Devata and Anima. So, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti says, but the Jiva, just by misidentification caused by beginningless ignorance, thinks that his capacity for action and enjoyment are his very nature, even though they are just the nature of things related to him, that is the body and senses. In this life, he has the body of an elephant. He thinks he has the capacity to eat about 200, 300 kilograms of food at one shot. In his next life, he gets the form of an ant, and literally a few grams of food can crush him to death, and maybe he can eat only a few milligrams of food only. Okay, that he thinks that is his capacity. Okay, but the jiva, just by misidentification caused by beginningless ignorance, thinks that his capacity for action and enjoyment are his very nature, even though they are just the nature of things related to him, that is the body and senses. From this, he takes repeated birth. Situated in the body produced from Prakriti and identifying with it, Prakritistaha, the Jiva enjoys and suffers by identifying as his own the lamentation, illusion, happiness, and distress, which are qualities of his mind. Okay, which are qualities of his mind. We saw the example of electricity and refrigerator. Cooling is the quality of the refrigerator, but the refrigerator cannot cool down anything without electricity. Cooling or heating is not the quality of electricity. It is the quality of the heater or cooler which is connected to the electricity. Like that. So happiness and distress, lamentation and illusion are qualities of the mind. They are qualities of the mind. But mind, when it is connected to the soul, okay. Otherwise, in a dead body, there is no soul. So you don't see the mind experiencing any happiness or distress. But that emotion is generated in the mind and experienced by the soul through the agency of mind. Of course, as we saw, any material example is incomplete Now, my question to you, I would like at least one of you to share your answer. What is the limitation of this example of electricity and refrigerator that we have used to discuss the role of mind and soul? Because it's a material example, there must be some limitation here. What is the limitation? What is the limitation of this analogy that we have used? Where does this analogy fall apart? Can someone share your thoughts? Yes, Mother Gail.
Uh, Well, when electricity makes a heater or a cooler, hot or cold, because the electricity is always inert, it cannot have the experience
Exactly.
of cold or heat.
Exactly. Yes. So this is correct. Electricity does not experience heat or cold, which is caused due to the refrigerator or heater. Even though, because of the presence of electricity only, the refrigerator cools down something and the heater heats. Okay. But the analogy ends there. The electricity itself is not the benefactor or the recipient of that heat or cold. The benefactor is someone else. But in this example of the jiva and the subtle body, the jiva is like the electricity, the subtle body is like the refrigerator or the heater, but the jiva is also the experiencer. Okay. So that example of electricity and refrigerator, it's an incomplete analogy or an example, just like any other material analogy to explain a transcendental subject matter. Thank you. Very nice answer. Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Okay. So, situated in the body, produced from Prakriti and identifying with it, the Jiva enjoys and suffers by identifying as his own the lamentation, illusion, happiness, and distress, which are qualities of his mind. The cause is the contact of the soul with the body made of gunas. Even though the soul does not actually contact the body, the contact is fabricated through ignorance. The contact is fabricated through ignorance. Okay. So, if you remember, where did we discuss? Even though the soul is spiritual, how can the three modes which are material control the soul? Was it in Jaiva Dharma? Where did we discuss this? Somewhere we were discussing recently. Okay. How? So he says, there is this jiva. I think it's in Jaiva Dharma. Okay. There is this jiva. Okay. And there is this subtle body, which is made of matter. And through the avidya potency, the jiva identifies with matter, this material body, subtle body. And the three modes can affect the subtle body, which is made of matter. And because the jiva is identifying with this material subtle body, therefore, when the three modes are affecting this material subtle body, the jiva also feels that he is affected. So even though the soul does not actually contact the body, the contact is fabricated through ignorance, avidya. It's not an actual contact. Swapna drashtur ivanjasa. It is like a body that we have received in our dream, which we are identifying as our own body. So where does the jiva enjoy? In repeated births in life forms like devatas or animals produced by his pious or sinful actions. Where does the jiva enjoy? In repeated births in life forms like devatas, animals, or animals produced by pious or sinful acts, like that. So because of this fabricated, yeah, okay. Oh, it was in Vidura Maitreya discussion. Okay. Okay. So, yeah. So this, in this fabricated contact through the agency of avidya, the jiva actually enjoys, you know, the influence of the three modes because of his identification with the subtle body, which is fabricated by the avidya potency, like that. Okay. Any quick discussion points, comments, questions, anything anyone would like to share, ask, add? Okay. Keshav Priya Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, Jiva is spiritual and its happiness is totally different, Prabhuji. So through avidya, it's identifying this material world. So this, the previous slide, we are seeing the lamentation, suffering, all those things, no, Prabhuji. So that is a prefabricated thing in the mind, Prabhuji. And Jiva comes in contact, this gives you happiness, this gives you distress, like that. Only those mind, is it a prefabricated thing in every body for us differently, Prabhuji, that one, that combination?
What do you exactly mean by prefabricated?
Prabhuji, for example, one man's food is another man's poison, Prabhuji. Something you may feel happy, I may not be, I may feel exactly opposite also. So I want to know,
Well,
I am placed in this, yes, Prabhuji.
in one sense, in a very generic sense, certain things are prefabricated, like human beings cannot enjoy grass and leaves and you know, cows cannot enjoy meat because they are herbivores. So like that, there are certain things which are prefabricated in general according to species. But certain other things, you know, within a particular species, based on certain experiences, the likes and dislikes changes. As and when certain things which we did not used to like before, over the period of time, we start liking them.
Yes,
So those
that only I'm
things,
asking, Prabhuji, like Jiva, for a Jiva, that is definitely not, there is no liking here at all. A Jiva doesn't like anything here. He is spiritual. He definitely doesn't like anything here. But it's made to like or dislike something here through the mind, Prabhuji. So I just want to understand only
the
mind
nature
is
of that, the nature
yeah.
of that mind is, it is like a sponge. So whatever it comes in contact, it just absorbs it. And then, because we are identifying with that subtle body, you know, the nature of that subtle body keeps changing according to the experiences. So the jiva identifying with the subtle body sometimes likes something, after sometimes he seems to hate the very same thing.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Yes, Prabhuji, I'm asking something different, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, suppose I get straight first mark, no, Prabhuji, I get a high mark. I
You
am
are
little,
you identifying with your body.
Prabhuji,
Okay,
like
I understand. Okay.
yeah. If
The
and
conditioned
someone,
soul who is identifying with the body
yes,
as a student
yes,
aspiring for
Prabhuji.
getting, okay.
And so for him, that is the greatest achievement. He'll be very happy for sure. And some other person, probably they wouldn't even mind what that mark means at all.
Okay.
So both are jivas, both are spirit souls only, Prabhuji. For one spirit soul, it matters a lot, and another spirit soul doesn't matter at all. So that
Correct.
mind only, for the first person, the mind only says you're great, you're achieved straight first. For another person, his mind says doesn't matter.
Correct.
like that, Prabhuji. So
Correct.
that part which influences, that is only influencing us to aspire something, no, Prabhuji.
Correct.
All jivas are running behind that aspiration only. So
Yeah.
that part
It's
is
just
Maya
like,
Shakti.
yeah, it's just like two people are undergoing different dreams. That's all.
Oh.
In one dream, he is identifying himself to be a very good student, and he is identifying appreciation as getting high marks. And another person is in another dream where he is thinking that, perfection is, to enjoy as much as possible by engaging in sports and things like that. So they both are in a different dream, but both are in a dream nevertheless.
Okay, bro. This is at least dream, Prabhuji. Sometimes even being devotees, suppose medically, if I am if you are diagnosed with cancer or any terminal illness, that pain which everyone undergoes, so really we are feeling that terrible pain, no, Prabhuji. Though
Yeah.
we very much know that I am spirit soul, I don't have connection with the body, but actually the pain of the disease only is more fearsome than the actual disease itself, Prabhuji. The pain we are going to undergo if we are diagnosed something like that. So, how to, like, if a devotee wants to get rid of it, though we know everything theoretically, Prabhuji, but still,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's only I'm asking, Prabhuji. Why?
Yeah, the inertia of
Mm,
past false ego is still there. So the
mm,
inertia of past false ego is there. We will definitely feel the pain. So, so if you are feeling the pain and that pain is distracting us from properly practicing Krishna consciousness, then we have to do the needful, take the necessary medication so that, like for example, you have to uh, uh, get down from a running train. Okay, you have to get down from a running train and stop in the station. Okay, and let's say while you are getting down, there are many broken glasses about 10 meters ahead of you. Okay, there are many broken glasses. So you know that the train is going fairly fast, and if you have to get down, then you will have to run with the train for at least another 35-40 meters to stop. So you cannot say, no, I am not wearing slippers. It doesn't matter anyway. I want to stop in the station. No. Yeah, you want to stop in the station, but you are getting down from a running train. So if you want to stop, you will have to run for another 25-30 meters before you will be able to stop. So in the meantime, when you have to cover the 25-30 meter distance, if you are not wearing slippers or shoes, those glass will hurt your feet and you will be suffering. So yes, we do understand that you don't want to move, you want to stop, but because you are moving, you are transitioning from a frame point which is moving very, very fast, even though we know that you want to stand still, but the transitioning will be slow. So during the transitioning period, while you have a sincere desire to stop, but in the transitioning period, you will be the influence of the inertia of motion will be there for some time. And while one understands the true ego, but one should also be aware of and acknowledge the influence of our past false ego, which may take different shape for different people who are differently conditioned. So we have to sometimes do the needful. So we have a strong migraine headache. Yes, we are not this body, but definitely since time immemorial, we have been identifying with the body, and we are just transitioning to the spiritual platform. Therefore, identifying that yes, the inertia of past false ego is there. Therefore, I am experiencing the pain of migraine. And with this pain, I am not able to focus on chanting my holy names. So I might as well take some medicine to mitigate this pain so that I can peacefully chant the holy names. Those things definitely we have to do.
Mm. Okay. Thank you, Hare.
Hare. Okay. Okay, there is a question in the chat box and there is a hand up. Let's quickly take the question in the chat box and then we'll see. One extension to the discussion of soul being the cause of happiness and distress. Is it not true that the soul is not actually affected by any experience in the sense that he does not undergo any change as a part of the experience, while only the gross and subtle bodies undergo changes as a part of that experience? But still, because this connection is there, the connection, the dream connection created by the avidya factor is there. Therefore, even though technically speaking, the jiva is not affected, but practically speaking, he is affected. Just like a person in his dream is suffering, is in one sense not suffering. In the technical sense, someone is stabbing him, someone is spitting on him, someone is criticizing him. But this is all happening in the dream. But till he wakes up from the dream is as good as real. For all practical purposes, it is real. Now, after waking up from the dream, all that experience becomes very trivial. But while he is still within the dream, it is as good as real. So, yeah, in one sense. So therefore, because the connection between the gross subtle body and the soul is made by the avidya potency of Mahamaya, till the person gets out of the influence of that avidya, his experience of pain and pleasure is as good as real, even though he is not actually experiencing it in a state of wakefulness, so-called state of real wakefulness, like that. Okay. Mother Gail.
Hi, Krishna Prabhu. Yeah,
Yeah.
just following up. In that train analogy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where you're talking about the inertia of the false ego,
Mm-hmm.
and you want to get down, but
Mhm.
there's broken glass on the ground.
Mhm.
So is that broken glass analogous to, let's say, that migraine headache? I want to chant my rounds, but I'm distracted by that, or is it something else?
Yeah, same.
Oh, okay. So yeah, or the glass on the ground could be some anarthas also, some anything that kind of hinders our absorption.
Yeah, it could be, yes.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure I got the analogy right.
Yeah.
And also when you were saying that why is it that our minds change? I went from liking certain foods to either disliking or even hating certain foods for no apparent reason. What is the cause for that?
Experience.
But I liked it. So what experience? In other
Maybe
words, nothing happened. It's just
nothing that you observed actually happened. You did not catch it, but something would have happened. Nothing happens without any reason. You could not trace out the cause, but that does not mean there is no cause. Okay.
So
Suddenly
is it possible?
Suddenly you see that you're feeling groggy and you know, and you say nothing happened. I was all right till now, and nothing happened from then till now, but suddenly I'm feeling feverish. Okay, nothing that you observed happened. Maybe some uh, malarial mosquito must have, uh, you know, you know, some female anaphylis would have, uh, you know, sat on you and sucked your blood, and that did its job. You didn't notice. But that does not mean nothing happened. Nothing that you observed, or you didn't notice something, but something would have happened.
Okay, but when it comes to like a change in taste of, I don't know, whether it's colors or food, you know, is it possible that that thing that I didn't observe, even though I do recall liking it in this life, and then I went to not liking it, is it possible that that change, that unobserved thing happened from a previous life that's only coming up now?
Possible, possible,
Mm.
possible. Yeah. Sometimes you don't invest so much. Sometimes we kind of um, don't wish to very rationally think about our likes and dislikes also. Sometimes the obvious things we may miss out also. So, mm, like I was talking with one of my uh, uh, devotee friends, devotee boys, who is, in this, who is doing medical. Uh, he wants to get into his post graduation medical, and I was asking that, okay, why do you like this particular branch, even though it is not uh, very sought after? It is not the most sought after branch. Why do you like it? That I don't know. When I was in my second year uh, undergrad, I hated it. But somehow in my final year, I started liking it very much. I asked him why.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, for no particular reason.
Mm-hmm.
Then I asked him, I remember your roommate with whom you were staying. He was a postgraduate student. He was also a devotee. Okay. And they both were staying in the same room. He was doing his undergrad, and the other person was doing his post graduation. I asked him, what was his branch? And he said, it was the same branch,
Mm-hmm.
So they both were dentists, he was a prostodontist, and he was doing his undergraduation in dental. So I asked him, hey, so actually, I asked him, hey, how come you like prostodontia so much? Because in your earlier days, you said, I hated it, I hated it, I hated it. And now all of a sudden, you want to do your PG in prosto. Why? He said, I don't know, I don't know. Then I asked him, who was your roommate was, what was his branch? And he said, oh, prosto. I asked him, could that have played a role? He thought about it for a long time. And he said, yes, yeah, quite possible. Because, he was, I used to see him doing what he was doing, he used to make his dentures or whatever, and things like that. And I started observing him, and I used to help him out with that. And gradually, over a period of time, even though nothing significantly happened in college, but what happened outside college in a relationship with this one person, that slowly changed. So sometimes we don't physically notice it.
Notice.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But certain things, um, that can influence like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, Prabhu. Just one last thing. Um, we were saying that although the soul has nothing to do with the body, due to the influence of Maya, we identify with it. So the soul when we say it has nothing to do, we mean that there is no physical contact, right? I mean, obviously there are two different substances, two different Shaktis, but there's also, because we hear that the soul is like kind of like aloof or suspended within the body, right?
Yeah.
So that means that there's no physical contact, and the only quote unquote contact would be the connection that the avidya, I guess the avidya portion of Maya makes
I
between
mean,
the soul
well,
and the
how would
body.
you, it all depends on how would you even define physical contact? Um, uh, well, you can say there is no, you can say, stimulus response contact, at least between whatever happens to matter does not necessarily affect the soul. There is no, any change of material stimulus does not,
Change
lead
the soul.
to change the soul. So
Mm-hmm.
now physical contact, I mean, if you actually think, how would you define physical contact actually in one sense? Um, you can definitely say, that is a whole different subject matter, whether a spirit can come in physical touch with matter, or how would you define such a contact in itself? I think we will not get into that discussion, because I think that would be that would get into the realm of little bit of speculation, which I don't wish to involve myself in. But the point is, uh, but definitely in terms of practical stimulus response type contact, as a soul who is not wrongly identifying with matter um, will not respond to any change of material stimulus. That much we can say.
Yeah. No, that's good. So this but we can say though that the the identification that avidya causes between body and soul, basically is like a little mystical, isn't it?
Yeah, little mystical.
Or a lot mystical.
Uh, there are a lot of things. This is one of the things which is mystical. Our tiny intelligence. So this is one of the things which is mystical amongst many or most, whichever way you wish to see. This is one of the many which we are willing to accept now as being mystical. There are many more which we will, in due course of time, accept to be mystical.
Yeah. No, but it was helpful to say that the soul's presence, the aloofness is that the changes in the matter does not affect the soul.
Yeah.
It's just that the self-realized souls experience that or realize that, whereas the conditioned souls don't realize that, and therefore they are affected.
Yeah.
They feel like they're affected anyway.
Correct.
Okay, well, thank you.
Correct. Okay. Let's continue. Finally, it's 13.21 was one black hole. 13.22 is another mini black hole. I think hopefully we can move on. उपद्रष्टा अनुमन्ता च भर्ता भोक्ता महेश्वरः परमात्मेति चाप्युक्तो देहेऽस्मिन् पुरुषः परः. So we are talking about Purusha and Prakriti. Okay, and their interactions. Now he is telling, apart from that, Asmin Dehe Purushaha Paraha Api. There is also a supreme person in the body. Paramatma iti uktaha. His name is Paramatma. Maheshwaraha, who is the great Lord. And what is his job? Upadrashta. He is the witness situated close to the Jiva. And Anumantacha. He is merciful to the Jiva by allowing him to enjoy what he wants to enjoy by this wrong identification. Bharta, he is the supporter of the Jiva. And Bhokta, he is the protector of the Jiva. Like that. Having spoken of the Jiva, the Lord now speaks about Paramatma. Even though the Lord already described Paramatma in the topic of Gyayam, right? Paramatma in general and in detail from verses 13 to 18, it should be understood that the present statement is made in order to clearly show that the Paramatma is situated in all bodies along with the Jiva, but different from the Jiva. Atma, Paramatma are not the same, they are different. So the Paramatma's role is Upadrashta, Anumanta, Bharta, Bhokta, Maheshwaraha. Paramatmeti Chapyukta, Dehesmin Purusha Paraha. There is a Parapurusha, there is a superior person present in the same body. That is Paramatma. That is what is described here. In this body, there is another supreme Purusha, the great Lord called the Paramatma. Paramatma iticha api uktaha. The word Parama in Paramatma clearly indicates a personal expansion of the Lord, Swamsha, distinct from the Jiva, in order to defeat those who propound the theory of one soul only. This is called as Ekatmavad. There is only one Atma. So Atma and Paramatma is same. This is that. So therefore, this is one verse where it is mentioned. So he is mentioned as Upadrashta, Anumanta, Bharta, Bhokta, Maheshwaraha. Paramatma iticha api uktaha dehesmin Purusha Paraha. Is Paraha, superior. He is the witness situated close to each Jiva, but separate from him. Upadrashta. He is the bestower of favors, showing mercy by his very closeness to the Jiva. Anumanta. The Shruti says, Sakshi Chetaha Kevalo Nirgunascha. He is the witness, the consciousness pure beyond the material gunas, says Gopal Tapani Upanishad. He is the supporter, Bharta, and the protector, Bhokta of the Jiva. Okay. We will cover one more verse and then we will see if there are any further questions. Or should we just complete this section, maybe another 5-6 more slides, and this section will get over, and then we will break out for some questions. So if you have any questions, please do write it down. Let us, for a change, get some satisfaction of covering some portion also. Okay. So let's cover, I will cover 2-3 more verses. So if you have any questions, please do write it down. Let's quickly cover these few verses and then we will pause for some further discussion. Okay. Evam vetti purusham prakritim cha gunaihi saha sarvata vartamanopi nasa bhuyo bijayate. Evam vetti purusham. He who knows the Paramatma, prakritim cha. Prakriti and cha indicates the Jiva. Evam vetti purusham, the Paramatma, prakriti and cha, the Jiva, gunaihi saha, along with the gunas, na saha bhuyo abhijayate. Such a person does not take birth again. Sarvata vartamanopi, even though encountering all sorts of circumstances, does not take birth again. So one who knows, or here knows means realizes, because mere knowing does not necessarily guarantee no rebirth, but realizing. He who knows the Prakriti, the Jiva, along with the gunas, he does not take birth again, even though encountering all sorts of circumstances. So, the result of this knowledge are stated in this verse. He who knows Paramatma, Purusham, that is, and Prakriti or Maya Shakti, along with its qualities, and the Jiva, which is indicated only by the word Cha, does not take birth again, even though in this life he may be situated in all sorts of unfavorable circumstances, such as being overcome by sleep and having uncontrolled mind or other such problems. He does not take birth again, provided he realizes this. Right? Then he continues. Dhyanenatmani pashyanti kechid atmanam atmana anye sankhena yogena karma yogena cha pare. Kechid, some people, pashyanti, they see atmani, this Paramatma, atmanam atmana dhyanena, through the meditation in Bhakti Yoga. Some see this Paramatma through the meditation in Bhakti Yoga. Anye Sankyena Yogena, others practice Jnana Yoga or Ashtanga Yoga, Karma Yogena Chapare, and others practice Nishkama Karma Yoga. Okay, like that. Alternative methods are mentioned in 2 verses. Some devotees, by contemplation of the Lord in the mind without help from any other process, spontaneously, not by any other process except Bhakti, see the Paramatma. Okay, so that is possible. And this is understood from a later verse, Bhaktyamam Avijanati, only by devotion am I known. Others, the Jnanis, by distinguishing soul from body, that is by Sankhya, and others, the Yogis, by Ashtanga Yoga, and yet others by Nishkama Karma, they see the Paramatma. In this regard, Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, and Nishkama Karma Yoga are successive causes of each other and not direct causes of seeing Paramatma. So, Karma Yoga is the initial cause, Jnana Yoga is the intermediate cause, and Ashtanga Yoga becomes the final cause of seeing the Paramatma. So, they are all 3 rungs of the same ladder. Like that. That is because their nature is sattvic and the result can only be sattvic. But the nature of Paramatma is beyond the gunas. Moreover, it is said by the Lord, Jnanam cha mayi sanyaset. A self-realized person who has cultivated scriptural knowledge up to the point of enlightenment and who is free from impersonal speculation, understanding the material universe to be simply an illusion, should surrender unto me both that knowledge and the means by which it is achieved. So this is Krishna speaking to Uddhava in the 11th canto. Jnanam cha mayi sanyaset means one should give up. One should give up that when one achieves the stage of the Brahma Bhuta stage, Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma Nashochati Nakangshati, Samas Sarveshu Bhuteshu Mad Bhaktim Labate Param. So at that stage, when they reach that Brahma Bhuta stage or self-realized stage, they should give up that practice of jnana in order to finally achieve liberation. Okay. So, and then Bhaktyaham Ekaya Grahyaha. Only by practicing unalloyed devotional service with full faith in me can one obtain me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus, after giving up jnana, indicated in the first of the verses quoted, becoming free from jnana, one sees Paramatma by bhakti alone, indicated in the second verse. So that Paramatma realization eventually happens after they give up that elements of jnana, yoga, karma, etc. Like that. Anye tvevam ajanataha shrutvaanyebhya upasate te pichati tarantyeva mrityum shruti parayanaha. Others, upasate, who perform worship, to evam ajanataha, even though even though not knowing, okay, even though not knowing, but hearing from others, anyebhyah shrutva, te apicha atitaranti eva, they also surpass death, shruti parayanaha, being intent on hearing. So the others who worship Paramatma, hearing talks from various sources, they can also surpass death. Okay. So some by karma, some by jnana, some by yoga, which means after karma, then jnana, then ashtanga yoga, then gradually by giving up all of those, then by practice of that exclusive bhakti, having given up the elements of karma, jnana, yoga, one can achieve. And others, you know, they may not, and others who may worship the Paramatma but who though not knowing, but hearing from others, they also surpass death by being intent on him, but because they worship. But others who worship Paramatma, hearing talks from various sources, they also surpass death. Like that. Okay. Any quick discussion points, comments, questions, anything anyone would like to share, ask? Okay. Okay. There's one question in the chat box, one question, one hand up. Okay. The Jnanis have to go through the ladder of Jnana, Karma, Jnana, and Ashtanga. Yeah. They have to go through that ladder. Yes. Okay. Shivakumar Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. So one question, Prabhu. The earlier to the discussions of liberation, even the personal liberation in Vaishnava tradition, you were mentioning that there is also a tinge of this selfishness. That's why we kind of our acharyas insist on service, not on liberation itself, Prabhu. I
Yeah.
just have this question, Prabhu. Now, if the soul's nature is Satchit Ananda, and if my presence in this material world is subjected to distress, me aspiring for a personal liberation, why should that be looked at as selfish, Prabhu? If my constitutionally, if I am Ananda, and that is what naturally I would pursue now, Prabhu.
Yeah. You would pursue. Now, my question is, if your constitutional nature is Ananda, why you are pursuing material pleasures now?
That is the false identification, right, Prabhu? I kind of am.
Same. That same false identification of a more subtler variety is there.
Okay. In terms of avoiding distress, you're saying, Prabhu?
Yeah, you can say something like that.
Okay, okay, okay. Okay, Prabhu. Because I thought, Prabhu, the two things, fundamentally we are accepting the Krishna servitude as the constitutional position. And I thought this is another aspect is this Ananda aspect also, which is not subjected to this at all in the spiritual world, means why there is this is what the question that I had, why that is considered as selfish.
Yeah, you will have people in this material world who are eating all kind of junk food. Okay. And at some point, they have suffered sufficiently and they decided no more junk food. We will eat only pure organic stuff, which is home cooked, home grown, and all that. Okay. Which is in one sense looks significantly better. Definitely in form, it is significantly better, but still in one sense, they may still not be completely convinced of eating only prasadam. So like that. So some people, based on their experience, they are still busy engaging junk food. Some
Hmm.
people who had a different experience decided, no, this is all futile. I am just punishing my body.
Hmm.
I will just go the organic way, and others, based on their own experience,
Hmm.
they say that, oh, Krishna Prasad is the only way,
Hmm. Hmm.
like that.
Hmm. Hmm. But Prabhu, just one extension, Prabhu, to this question. Some other is this only the Gaudiya Vaishnava's approach, Prabhu? Because from my limited exposure to Sri Vaishnava discourses, there seems to be heavy emphasis of attaining Vaikuntha as the goal of this thing, Prabhu.
Yeah,
Hmm.
but of course, subtly, they do say that there is understanding of Kainkarya Prapti,
Hmm. Hmm.
you know, achieving servitude as the goal.
Hmm.
Okay. Even though that sometimes for common people there may be emphasis on attainment of Vaikuntha, but they may say, if you ask them deeply, they'll say the understanding is, oh yeah, but Vaikuntha means actually Kainkarya,
Okay. Okay. Hmm. Hmm.
like that.
Hmm. 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 Okay. 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 Thank you.
Okay. Madhavi Gopi. Keshav Prema.
Prabhuji, like Jivera Swarupe Krishna Nitya Dasa is this is a constant position of a Jiva, no Prabhuji. So, like a Jiva is he's there only for, I mean, potentially he's created only to for the service of the Lord. So when we don't do that, then that is called selfishness. It's like that only I understood. Is it like that? Unless we
Yeah.
do that. So in liberation, we just release from the material bondage, but still we are not serving the Lord. So Prabhuji, is that way to understand this?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I want, because that is what my understanding is. I am created by Him. We cannot use the word created, but still, what is expected from me is service to Him. Only ultimate from a jiva is expected to serve the Lord. So till I reach that position, there is some selfishness in me, no, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
I was just understanding this way, so that's why I'm asking. Okay, Prabhuji, thank you, Hare Krishna.
Okay, one more question in the chat box. For me, it looked that each of the Jnana, Ashtanga, Karma Yoga are independently lead to realization of Paramatma. No, independently means they are also called as independent processes, provided there is a small element of the other practices also. Okay. So actually, the gradual path to liberation has Sakama Karma Yoga, then Nishkama Karma Yoga, then Jnana Yoga, then Ashtanga Yoga, and then finally there is the stage of Jnana, Ashtanga, Karma, Sannyas, at which stage only Bhakti Yoga remains, the small element of Bhakti Yoga remains, and with that one achieves liberation. Okay. In this way, if you see, all these are individual stages of the same path. You know, the karma, sakama karma, nishkama karma, jnana yoga, ashtanga yoga, then that minimal bhakti yoga, etc. Otherwise, there is sakama karma yoga, then there is nishkama karma yoga, and after nishkama karma yoga, then there you may seem to have like, the path of just exclusive Nishkama Karma Yoga or Jnana Yoga or Ashtanga Yoga to pursue the same goal of liberation. Okay. If you take like that, actually, if you see this practice of Nishkama Karma Yoga will have some element of Jnana Yoga and some element of Ashtanga Yoga and some element of Bhakti Yoga. And this Ashtanga Yoga will have also the element of Jnana Yoga and Bhakti Yoga. But because of its predominance of Ashtanga, it is called as Ashtanga Yoga. And this, because of the predominance of the Jnana limb, it is called as Jnana Yoga. But this also has the element of Bhakti and Ashtanga, etc. Similarly for Nishkama Karma Yoga also. So sometimes this Nishkama Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga and Ashtanga Yoga are presented to be three different exclusive paths. In that case, we have to understand what is mentioned as Jnana is not exclusive Jnana. It has the element of Bhakti and Ashtanga Yoga also. But because of the predominance of Jnana, it is called as Jnana Yoga. And similarly, what is called as Ashtanga Yoga, it has the elements of Jnana in its practice. It has the element of Bhakti in its practice. But because of the predominance of Ashtanga, it is called as Ashtanga Yoga, like that. Okay. Actually, on Friday evening last session, like the Bhagavad Gita session, I experienced mixed emotions actually. I have to be honest, On one hand, I feel actually great relief, because 5 days of, three sessions every day, you'll have to prepare for it. You have to, answer questions. Then offline, there are questions coming, and then you prepare the notes and everything. And at some point, you really feel in the middle of the week, you feel like I need some breathing space. And there are so many other things happening around you. And you're kind of looking forward to the Friday night Bhagavad Gita session, after which you can breathe easy a little bit. But at the same time, you miss the association of the devotees also, 5 days. It was luxury, having the association of devotees. It's so nice. But at the same time, towards Wednesday night, then Thursday, and then you're like really looking forward, when would be that Friday evening Bhagavad Gita session, so that you need some breathing space really. But it's good. This is, it's always important that you are busy in the service of Krishna. But of course, Saturday, Sunday, you again start missing the devotees very much. And you are eagerly looking forward to the association again on Monday. So you are revamped and rejuvenated and ready for one more 5-day stretch like that. And this is especially true when I go to Chowpatty. It becomes all the more intense and hectic because it is 5 days of 3 sessions online, and there are offline sessions also. And it becomes too packed. And I'm really looking forward to Friday evenings. And that Saturday looks like actually, in one sense, like liberation for me. In one sense. Yeah, I'm not complaining. Please don't get me wrong at all. But yeah, it's kind of mixed emotions, I would say. Sometimes you get too tired and exhausted. That for that reason, just for some time to catch up, you feel you are looking forward for the Friday evening session also. So anyways, have a very pleasant weekend. You will, you also get your liberation for the next 2 days before you get caught up again from Monday to Friday. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur Pad ki jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Okay, I saw some comment here. What is that? Started with emotions, questions, and ended with the same. Yes. Okay. Anyways, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Okay, Hare Krishna. Have a very pleasant weekend.